My name is Robert. I'm 86 years old. I'm recording this because there's something I've carried for a very long time, and I don't know how much time I have left to say it out loud. It's about my father, and a sound I still hear. Every night before I sleep, just before the room goes completely quiet, I hear it. A shallow breath. Slow, uneven, the kind that doesn't come all the way in and doesn't quite make it all the way out. It's been 53 years, and I still hear it. Not because I want to remember, but because I can't forget. I was 33 when my father died. He was 71, a carpenter, strong hands, Kvietman, the kind who didn't say much, but when he did, you listened. We weren't close, not the way I see fathers and sons today. We didn't talk about feelings. We didn't hug. We worked together sometimes, and that was enough. Or at least I thought it was. He got sick in the fall. Lung cancer. The doctors said it was advanced. Said he had maybe 6 months. I remember nodding. I remember shaking the doctor's hand. I remember driving him home and neither of us saying a word. He moved in with us. My wife, Margaret, she insisted. We had the space. Our 2 boys were young then, still in school. She said it was the right thing to do. I agreed, but I didn't know what I was agreeing to. I thought he would just be there, in the house, resting, sleeping. Maybe we'd sit together in the evenings, watch television, and that would be enough. But it wasn't like that. He needed help, more and more as the weeks went on. Help getting dressed, help walking to the bathroom, help eating, sometimes when his hands shook too much. And I did it. I helped him, but I was busy. I had work. I had the boys. I had things I thought were important. So I helped him, but I didn't sit with him. I didn't ask him anything. I didn't say much at all. There was one night in particular. It was late February. Cold. The kind of cold that settles into your bones. Margaret had gone to bed. The boys were asleep. I was in the kitchen, finishing some paperwork for a job I had the next day. And I heard him coughing. It was a deep, wet sound, the kind that makes you wince. I stood up, walked to his room. The door was half open. He was sitting up in bed, leaning forward, one hand on his chest. His breathing was labored, shallow. I stood in the doorway. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded, didn't look at me. "Need anything?" He shook his head. I stood there for a few more seconds. Then I said goodnight and went back to the kitchen. I told myself he was fine. I told myself he would have said something if he needed me. But the truth is, I didn't want to stay. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to sit with him in that kind of silence. So I left. He died 3 weeks later. It was a Sunday morning. Early. The sun hadn't come up yet. Margaret woke me. She'd gone to check on him and found him still. His eyes were closed. His hands were folded on his chest, like he'd arranged them himself. The doctor came, said it was peaceful, said he probably went in his sleep. I nodded. I shook his hand. I made the phone calls. I arranged the funeral, and I didn't cry. Not then, not at the service, not when they lowered him into the ground. Script Part 2. It was about 2 months later when it started. I was lying in bed one night, and I heard it. That breath. Slow, shallow, uneven. I sat up, looked around. The room was empty. Margaret was asleep beside me. But I heard it, clear as anything. I thought I was imagining it. Thought maybe I was just tired. But it happened again the next night. And the night after that. And it hasn't stopped. For years, I thought it was guilt. I thought maybe it was my mind punishing me for not being there enough. For not sitting with him. For not asking him the things I should have asked. But as I've gotten older, I've realized it's not punishment. It's memory. It's the last real thing I have of him. And it's the thing I didn't pay attention to when it mattered. I didn't know my father. Not really. I knew what he did for work. I knew he liked his coffee black, his eggs scrambled. I knew he voted the same way every election and listened to the radio on Sunday mornings. But I didn't know what he was afraid of. I didn't know if he had regrets. I didn't know what he thought about when he couldn't sleep. I didn't know if he was scared when he got sick. I never asked, and he never told me, because that's how we were. That's how we'd always been. And I thought there would be time. I thought, at some point, maybe near the end, we'd have a conversation. A real one. The kind where he'd say something important, and I'd understand him in a way I never had before. But that didn't happen, because I waited, and he was quiet, and then he was gone.
There was a box. After he died, we were going through his things, and Margaret found a box in the back of his closet. It was small. Wooden. Handmade, it looked like. Inside were letters. Not many. Maybe a dozen. They were from my mother. She died when I was 9. The letters were from before they were married. When my father was overseas during the war. I read one of them. She wrote about missing him. About being afraid he wouldn't come back. About wanting to build a life with him when he did. She signed it, "Yours always." I didn't know he'd kept them. I didn't know he still read them. But the edges were worn. The paper was soft, like it had been unfolded and refolded 100 times. He never mentioned her. Not once, in all the years after she died. I thought he'd moved on. But he hadn't. He'd just been quiet about it. I think about that a lot now. How much he must have carried. How much he kept to himself. And how I never asked. I was his son. I lived in the same house as him for the last 6 months of his life. And I never asked him about her. I never asked him if he missed her. I never asked him what it was like to lose her. I never asked him anything that mattered. I'm 86 now. My sons are grown. They have families of their own. They call me. They visit. They're good boys. But I wonder sometimes if they know me. Really know me. I wonder if they know I think about their mother every single day, even though she's been gone for 11 years. I wonder if they know I regret not traveling more when I had the chance. I wonder if they know I still feel like I failed their grandfather. I don't talk about those things. Because I learned from him, I think. I learned to be quiet. And now I'm old enough to see what that cost. A few years ago, my youngest son Daniel came to visit. We were sitting on the porch. It was evening. Quiet. He asked me out of nowhere, "Dad, do you ever think about Grandpa?" I said yes. He said, "What was he like? I mean, really like?" I only remember bits and pieces. And I didn't know what to say. Because I didn't know. I told Daniel he was a good man. A hard worker. That he loved us in his own way. And Daniel nodded. But I could see he wanted more. He wanted a story. A memory. Something real. And I didn't have it to give him. Because I never collected it. That's what I think about now. Not just that I didn't know my father. But that I can't pass him on. He's disappearing. Not just from my memory, but from the world. Because I didn't ask. I didn't listen. I didn't hold on to the things that mattered. And now there's nothing left but that breath. Slow. Shallow. Uneven. If I could go back, I wouldn't try to fix everything. I wouldn't try to become a different kind of son. I would just sit with him. One night. Just one. I would sit in that room in that chair by his bed, and I would say, "Tell me about her." And I would listen. I wouldn't check my watch. I wouldn't think about work. I wouldn't leave because the silence felt uncomfortable. I would just stay. But I didn't. And I can't go back. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I'm running out of time to say it. Maybe because I don't want someone else to wait the way I did. Not to teach you. Not to tell you what to do. Just to say it out loud. That I waited. And I lost something I can't get back. And I hear it. Every night. That last breath. Slow. Uneven. Still there. If you stayed with me through this, thank you. I don't know if it means anything to you. But it means something to me to finally say it. If you want to, leave a comment. Or don't. Either way, I'm glad you were here.